Welcome back, focused learners. So, have you ever actually stopped to wonder why we do what we do? Like, why is it that some days we're just absolutely bursting with energy to tackle a project, and other days literally just getting off the couch feels like this monumental, impossible task? Well, today we're diving into this explainer to decode a totally landmark psychological framework by researchers Richard Ryan and Edward Deci. We're going to look under the hood and figure out the true engine of human drive.
It really comes down to this fundamental duality we see every single day. Are humans naturally proactive, or are we just inherently passive? Just think about it for a second. We all know people who are deeply inspired, constantly stretching themselves to master new skills and do great work. But we also see millions of people who just sit passively staring at screens for hours, looking completely checked out in classrooms, or just listlessly waiting around for the weekend.
So, on one hand, we've got the human spirit at its absolute best, right? Proactive, curious, full of vitality, and super engaged. But on the other hand, we have this state that is totally passive, alienated, apathetic, and honestly, sometimes even crushed. Now, here's the kicker. Because both of these states are incredibly common across literally all ages and cultures, researchers realized this can't just be about biological differences or baked-in personality traits. There simply must be powerful social factors and environments driving this massive difference in how we function. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll hit the nature of motivation. Second, the intrinsic motivation paradox. Third, the self-determination continuum. Fourth, our three basic psychological needs. And finally, goals and well-being. Let's get into it. Starting off with Section 1, the nature of motivation. Let's define the core of what we're talking about here. Right, so self-determination theory, or SDT for short, looks at the innate conditions that actually help us thrive. Rather than treating us like these programmable robots that just respond to inputs and outputs, SDT recognizes that we have inherent growth tendencies. We have these evolved inner resources that, when they are properly nurtured, actually lead to positive personality development and really effective self-regulation. Within this whole theory, we have intrinsic motivation. This defines our most natural, active state. Picture a kid playing, building a crazy fort, or exploring the backyard. They definitely don't need a paycheck or a gold star to do it, right? The inherent satisfaction of the activity itself is the reward. It's just that pure human tendency to seek out novelty, master new challenges, and learn simply for the joy of it. But on the flip side, we have extrinsic motivation. This is what happens when social pressures or, responsibilities force us to do things that aren't inherently interesting to us. You're doing the activity to attain some separable outcome, like doing a chore just to get an allowance, or grinding through overtime specifically for a bonus. The action is distinctly separate from any actual joy in the work itself. Moving on to Section 2, the intrinsic motivation paradox. This is all about what happens when rewards actually backfire. Now, there is a completely fascinating paradox here. We usually think that to get someone to do something, we should just offer them a reward or maybe slap a strict deadline on them. But the research actually shows that traditional motivators, things like tangible rewards, threats, and pressured evaluations, literally destroy our intrinsic drive. They make us feel controlled. Conversely, the enhancers, like giving someone a real sense of choice, acknowledging their feelings, and allowing some self-direction, well, those actually boost our intrinsic motivation. Why? Because they support our feeling of autonomy. It's totally counterintuitive, but so important. Section 3, the self-determination continuum. Let's move beyond thinking about this in just black and white. Okay, this brings us to a massive concept, internalization. See, the ultimate goal isn't to force compliance. The goal is to help people take in a value or a rule and truly transform it into their own. When a rule is fully integrated, you aren't doing it just because the boss or a teacher is watching. You do it because it aligns with your own genuine sense of self. It's how external rules can actually evolve into deeply held personal values over time. Notice how extrinsic motivation isn't just one block. It's actually a spectrum. On the far left, you have amotivation, just completely lacking any intent to act at all. As we start moving to the right, we hit external regulation. This is acting purely to avoid a punishment or snag a quick reward. But if you keep moving right, things start to shift. You hit introjected regulation, where you might act out of ego or just to avoid feeling guilty. Then there's identified regulation, where you consciously value the goal yourself. And finally, we reach integrated regulation, where an external goal is fully assimilated into your own core values. It's this beautiful, gradual journey from forced external compliance to true personal commitment. Section 4.
3 basic psychological needs. Let's look at the core engine running all of this.
So, according to the research, both intrinsic motivation and the internalization of those extrinsic tasks we just talked about, they rely entirely on 3 universal, innate psychological needs being met. First up is competence. That's the need to feel effective and capable when interacting with the world. Second is autonomy, the need to feel volition and that you truly endorse your own actions. And third is relatedness, our fundamental human need to feel a sense of belonging and real connection to others. Think about it like a plant. Just like a plant absolutely needs water, sunlight, and soil, humans need competence, autonomy, and relatedness to thrive. Take one away, and we wilt.
Now, we need to clear up a super common misconception right here. It is vital we separate these two concepts. Autonomy does not mean independence. A lot of people equate autonomy with acting selfishly, being totally detached, or focusing purely on fierce individualism. But it simply means having a genuine sense of choice and volition. You can be highly dependent on other people or be deeply embedded in a collectivist culture and still act with complete autonomy, as long as you willingly endorse the actions you're taking.
Finally, Section 5, Goals, Health, and Well-Being. Why our aspirations really matter. When we dig into the data synthesized by researchers, a pretty stark reality emerges. Chasing intrinsic aspirations, things like personal growth, meaningful relationships, or contributing to your community, well, that directly satisfies those 3 basic needs we just discussed, and it significantly enhances our overall well-being and even lowers depression. But conversely, extrinsic aspirations, spending your life chasing wealth, fame, or crafting the perfect image, actually relates negatively to well-being. The data proves that chasing money and status completely fails to satisfy our basic needs. It leaves us feeling impoverished and totally unfulfilled, even when we supposedly succeed. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to consider this profound takeaway directly from the research. When we use excessive control, when we fail to provide the right kind of challenges, or when we foster a lack of connectedness, we disrupt the very nature of human potential. This doesn't just kill initiative, it actually causes real psychological distress. So I want to leave you with this question. How might the environments you create, whether that's at home, at school, or at work, be accidentally crushing the natural drive of the people around you? Think about how you can start feeding those core needs for competence, autonomy, and relatedness today. Thanks for joining me and keep learning.